Okay, good afternoon. Right now it's me and Shlomo together,
Thank
and
you.
I'm sure some will join us shortly. Okay, I'm very excited about this next section. By the way, we finished the first section of Loving Every Jew. With Hashem's help, I was able to write an English review. So when I send out today's class, the tape of that. So I'm going to send out the notes also. And that's a good thing maybe to review on Shabbos. They're all in English, so you can review those notes.
Thank you, Rabbi.
Okay, let's all mute, please. And let's begin the next section. Really an outstanding, I couldn't put the book down. I mean, I had to because it's just so exciting moving from one section to the other. I also, Beli Neder, are copying the next section. I wasn't planning on it, so I will. I don't know how long I'll do that, but I think it may help those who didn't buy a sefer, at least to be able to look along with this. And this, I feel, will be a very rewarding chapter for many of us. The second topic is called achila, eating. And look at the questions. He always opens up with amazing questions. Lama acharei ha'ochel. Why is it after a person eats? Margishim lepamim. Sometimes you feel pachos cheshek lavodas Hashem yisbarach v'limud Torah. We feel less energized, less of a drive to serve Hashem and to learn Torah. Why is it after we're engaged in any eating, we're not in the mood to learn Torah? Lama lepamim. Sometimes margishim megushamim yoser. We feel more coarse, more physically orientated. And why does a person become more lazy and feels more heavy, so to speak? He can't get off the table. This may explain why classes at night may suffer, because people have a big dinner and then it's hard to overcome that, as opposed to the morning before davening. You haven't eaten anything yet. And there's the main one. V'lama b'Shabbos. Why on Shabbos? Shu Yom Ruchani, which is meant to be a spiritual day. It seems we're doing the opposite. Yesh mitzvah lechol achila gashmis. There's a mitzvah to eat physical eating. And I'm sure many of us, Friday night, you have a nice meal. Oh, I'm so tired. Shabbos lunch, noch and cholent. Oh, I guess I got to roll into bed. It's a spiritual day. You see during the week, the eating makes you less spiritual. So now Shabbos, you eat also. Incredible questions. So again, this section has a number of chapters. I believe it has 4 chapters, if I'm not mistaken. Let me just quickly take a look over here. 4 chapters. So this is probably going to take us, could very well take us almost 2 weeks to get through this. And the first chapter, just to give you a summary, is going to say, how does a Jew view eating? What's the spiritual way of viewing eating? And that'll take a few days. But once you understand the whole idea, then we can maybe attack it properly. Let's take a look. Eric Aleph, Mahi Achila, that's the overall chapter title. The subdivision, Aleph, subdivision, Achila hi avoda ikoris. Eating is the primary service to God. First, we have to understand the inner content of the spiritual understanding of eating. On the one hand, on Aroim we see that the virtues of eating are very great. Why? When we come to any important event in Yiddishkeit, yesh mitzvah lechol. There's a mitzvah to eat. Right? What's the joke they say? What is Jewish history in one line? I may have it off a little bit. What's the source of all Jewish holidays? They wanted to kill us. We beat them and now we eat. Right? So, like, how does that fit in? But it's true. Kagon b'Shabbos, on Shabbos, it's a mitzvah to eat. Uba Moadim, on Yontiv, it's a mitzvah to eat. Usudas mitzvah, any mitzvah suda, a bris, a wedding, all these things. V'achilas ha-karbanos beis hamikdash, eating karbanos in the beis hamikdash. It seems an outsider would say that Judaism is infatuated with eating. And the truth is we are. But not the way everybody else is. What's the difference between how Jews are celebrating their Yontif, our Rosh Hashanah, and how the non-Jews do? You might think, well, not much different. We're both fresh. We both gain weight. We gain weight over Hanukkah. They gain weight over their Goyish holiday that's coming up soon. So that is one aspect. You see Judaism, you have to. You have to rejoice. And the Rambam and the Gemara says, how do you rejoice? Men have meat and wine. Women, fine clothes. Children, nash, so to speak. What's going on over? How do we understand this? That's on the one hand. Umitzad sheni, and on the other hand, tavas achila, the lust to eat. Who davar shemor des ha'adam od, that devaluates a person. Umitamtemes es nishmas v'sichlo, and it dulls his soul and his heart. As the rabbis say, an interesting comment, very wonderful line. Before you daven that the words of Torah should enter inside you, what should you daven first? Pray that delicacies do not enter inside of you. First, pray that the delicacies don't enter inside of you. Then pray that the Torah will get inside of you. So we see there's an obvious contradiction. If the rabbis tell us to be so wary about involvement in the physical world, yet the Torah mandates this. So the first point, it is clear. If Hashem has placed such a concept in the creation, okay, this idea of eating, there has to be a great service to be accomplished. There's something very fundamental and important to a person's life, in the physical and in the spiritual realm. Therefore, we are obliged, we have to look at the deeper concept spiritually of what eating's all about. And to learn how to eat the right way. He said, there's a daily activity, and everything depends on it. Parenthetically, I believe if we learn this section properly, we'll have no problem with our diet. A lot of people, I have to confess, have been the victim of COVID-19, which COVID means heaviness, right? And many people have gained 19 pounds. And that's not good. That's not good. So this may help us as well. Let's look at the footnote below. Lamed Beis. The truth is there's something very unique about eating. Bishona mishar taivas, different than any other lusts. For who? Why? She efsharli molik mimena. You can't escape it. Hashem created being that he must eat and drink. There's a lot of pleasures in this world you can live without. It might be hard, but you can live without. You could live without a lot of money. Could be hard, but you could live without it. You could live without a lot of friends. It would be hard. You could live without sexual pleasure. You can live almost without anything. Okay, you have to have air, but I don't got to do anything to breathe air. But you must actively eat or you will die. You have to think about that. Why does Hashem do that? That shows us how far-reaching this concept is. It's so important and necessary to serve Hashem. You can't give it away. You can't discredit it. You can't say a spiritual person maybe shouldn't be involved in certain physical pleasures. Could be to a certain degree. But you can't say you shouldn't be involved in eating. You must eat. You can't escape it. So I'm like in a catch-22. Really. I have to eat. You know what? For me, a lot of times, I find fasting easier than eating in moderation. Sometimes I come to a fast day. I have a nature, and I think many people, I'm like an all or nothing guy. You tell me not to eat the whole day, I can eat the whole day. Not eat the whole day. I'm fine. Maybe even 2 days I could do it. But once I start eating, whoa, that's when the problems are. Right? So, but Hashem, if you would have created me, Hashem, that I don't have to eat, I think I'd be much better off being able to diet. If I could live without eating, I could maybe figure a way to do it. But since if I don't eat, I'll die. So now you're forcing me to start taking in some of the food. So now, what do you want from me? Now I got to stop. That's very hard. So here's the point. The fact that a person must eat and must consciously eat every day without fail means that this is a very important service to God. That's what you have to get the main point here. Because if it wasn't that important, Hashem wouldn't force you to do it every day. Now think about that's about the only thing like that. You could theoretically, you can live without Torah. You could live without davening. You're not going to drop dead if you don't daven. You're not going to drop dead if you don't learn Torah. I'm not minimizing davening and Torah, but you understand you will drop dead if you don't eat. So what does that mean? Hashem is saying eating is the most important spiritual service you can do because a day cannot go by without it. But it has to be done right. So that's already one important point. Lamed Gimel, the next footnote's going to come to that. I've been able now, I'm copying 2 pages at one time. I still think it's coming out big, so it's going to save aggravation when we flip pages. Lamed Gimel, Kichol Avoda Sa'adam. Remember, he said here, Hakol Toli Boy, everything depends on our understanding of eating. Kikol Avoda Sa'adam, because the whole service of a person is, and the next page, Utfilaso, and his davening, Vasagas Kirvas Elokim, and achieving close to Hashem, Shibishvil Zanivaram, because that's why Hashem was created you. And also your parnos, your health, everything in the world. It all depends on eating in a state of sanctity. Nun Beis means like P.S. Of course, we are focusing here in this section only on eating, but that's not limited to that. Because eating is the most important physical pleasure. But however we're going to address eating, it will apply in other ways. Everything we're going to explain to you about eating will apply to all areas of physical pleasure that a person needs or must be involved with. Okay, so now we move up to page Chav Zayin. So this was the first subcategory, that eating is the primary service because Hashem forces us to do it, so it must be very important. Number base on page Chav Zayin, the second subcategory is called Achila hi hischabrus l'Hashem yisborach. Eating is bonding and connecting with Hashem. With God's help, we'll explain a little bit. Behold, a person's life comes from Hashem. The fact that we're alive right now is directly from Hashem. He is the source of life. That we know. When a person feels weak, why? He feels he has to eat. You go for let's say you skip breakfast, right? Then you're getting in lunch and you're feeling a little weak. It's a physical reality. So now what's this concept? Remember, everything that we feel, Hashem created it. Why does Hashem have us this feeling of hunger? Hashem could have created us to never feel hungry. Yet we would still need nourishment. He could do that. Well, let's take it further. He could have created us without the need for nourishment. He'll talk about that question a little bit later. But Hashem did give us a feeling of I'm hungry, and it's a painful feeling, and it's a weakened feeling. Why does Hashem have to do it? Just say, you know what? You'll feel the same. Just every 3 times a day, eat something, and you'll keep everything steady. I mean, does your car feel weak when it's not full with gas? Why couldn't Hashem make us like a car? That only when we're on empty, then we can't move. But if before we're on empty, the car goes really good, even if it's almost empty, but it still goes. But a human being doesn't work that way. You could have eaten breakfast and stuff's going through your bloodstream, but without lunch and supper, you're going to feel weak. Why did Hashem create that feeling of weakness in us? This is really analyzing life. So Pnimis, the deeper concept is because there's a need for it. Because you have to renew your connection with Hashem. And you have to fill yourself up with new life-sustaining energy.
Rabbi, I have a question.
Yes, Shlomo.
Rabbi, so can we rightly say that this is also an avoda to Hashem?
Shlomo's asking, can we rightly say that this is avodah Hashem? Absolutely. This is the avodah of Hashem, eating. We have to explain how it works. Of course, it's the main avodah of Hashem. So let's first take a look at footnote Lamed Daled and footnote Lamed Hey. Again, Nun Beis, P.S. Sometimes you find a person has a feeling that he's hungry. When it's not a time to eat. You ate breakfast at 9 o'clock. Lunch is 12. Or better yet, we know when it really happens, right? Supper was at 6, but at 10:30, you get a little hungry. So now the question is, so we're saying hunger is a need to renew your connection to Hashem. Is every feeling of hunger like that? How about that kind of? So he says, when it's not the set meal time, you don't know, do I really need to eat? Or is this just a lustful fressing? When do I know it's legitimate or not? So tzarech ladas, you need to know. If you stamazoi feel hungry, you don't have to eat. There's different levels of hunger. I'm a little hungry. And many times it's just the Yetzer Hara. And if you overcome that little hungry, and just distract yourself, get involved in a project, you see the hunger goes away. You do something you like, you're not going to be hungry. Nothing happens to you, so you're a little bit hungry. Fargosha amiti shel rav. What's a true feeling of hunger? When you feel a little bit, your body is weakening. When you feel you don't got the energy to do something. Did you ever think about that? This is something, I'm telling you, all the diet books, throw them out. Just read this section. You read this, a smart Jewish frum entrepreneur will just take this section and make millions. But again, if you're doing it to Jews, it's hard to make millions because we're very scrupulous where we spend our money. But this would be mamish. In which you're hungry. Now, discriminate in your hunger. Is it something that if I just take my mind off of it, I'll be fine? Or is it, no, I'm really feeling weak. So the next time you're hungry, ask yourself, am I feeling weak or stam wananash? Generally speaking, if you had a good dinner at 6 o'clock and now it's 10:30, you're really not weak. You don't feel weak. And matter of fact, if you do, then that's a good sign to go to sleep. Right? But you don't feel weak. You just like a little nash. I'm tempted. I like a little nash. Just ask, are you feeling weak? Now you could tell on a fast day, some fast days, I really feel weak. By a long summer fast day, 4 o'clock, I feel weak. So, okay, well, can't eat on a fast day, but that's when you can really tell when you're feeling weak. But if you're not feeling weak, then you're not really hungry. So only when you feel weak, and that's when you have that hunger, that's a sign you need to reconnect to Hashem. He'll explain how. Lamed Hey, the next footnote. Therefore, therefore, those who engage in Torah and service Hashem with proper holiness, and they connect to Hashem all the time, don't have to eat so much, but they're klal in general. Could receive tzaddik oichel l'sov v'nafsho. A tzaddik eats to satiate his soul, not to fill his gut. Amnam, however, even a tzaddik has to eat. Why? And you'll see what's going to be explained. Hashem's will is that a person should reveal in his eating what? That the divine light is found even in physical food, as we shall explain. A person's hungry because there's a need to connect more to Hashem. And how do you do this? By showing in your eating, as we shall describe, how even food that's so physical has sparks of holiness, which he'll explain. And that's what you're bringing out. And that's the avodah that you have to do. We have to always feel connected to Hashem in many ways. Some of us say, let me stay away from the physical world. Hashem says, I don't want you to stay away from the physical world. I brought you in this world to elevate the physical world. So you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to make you hungry. Why are you making me hungry? Because I want you to eat something. Why? Because I want you to expose the Shekhinah that's in a sandwich. That's what I want you to do. I want you to show that this physical thing that's so physical, so far away you think from spirituality, you're going to take it and invest it with holiness and bring the divine presence out of that hamburger. That's what it's about. V'nei kol habriya, going back upstairs now. The whole creation, nothing has independent existence. Hashem gives life and existence to everything. Everything, the food, everything. Every moment. As it says, you give life to everything. And everything in creation. Hashem sends a divine light. It gives it life. We don't always see this. Now that life force that is in all created beings, there's a mystical term you have to commit to memory. The grace is called nitzotzot. Nitzotzos, sparks. If we have light, then we have sparks. I know oris ketanim, little flashes of light, that are sent from Hashem to the creatures, to give them life and existence. Yes.
What is it referred to, the hayus? Is it life in you or the life in the food?
What?
What does the liveliness mean?
The energy. We're talking about energy. There's divine energy that is giving everything existence. Everything. I have existence from divine energy. The table has existence from divine energy. Food has existence from divine energy. And that divine energy are called nitzotzos, are called sparks. It's a little bit of that. Okay. And therefore in every food or drink, yesh besocho nitzotzos elokim. There's divine sparks in that. They give life and existence to this food. But they are enclosed and hidden, as it were, within the food. What does that mean? Let's see Lamed Vav. Now, first of all, he wants to clarify a term. Pashut it over. No, it's clear. So when we mean inside, we don't mean actually inside. If you cut it open, you're going to find a spark. Not the physical part. Oh, I cut a hamburger, I'm going to find some sparks flying out. No. We're talking about the spiritual life force, which is much more mystical, but much more primary. It could be the atoms, for all I know. I don't know. Or it could be something driving the atoms, the energy that drive. We don't know what energy drives the atoms. Scientists haven't figured that one out yet. They can see there's atoms, but what's the energy behind the atoms? That could be that, but you'll see in a minute. When we look externally, we see the physical thing. Truth is, inside is a spiritual life force. That's the main food. Just like we said about all Jews. What's the main Jew? The physical body? No, the soul. You can't see that either. You got to love every Jew, right? You got to love every Jew. You got to love food too. You'll see in a minute, but only in a certain way. Just like we said, a body of a person and a soul. Even though you see the body, but it's clear that the main part of human being is the spiritual soul that's hidden inside of it. Gives them life, and the body is only the utensil. So now, those sparks in food that are spiritual, what is that? That's the taste that food has. When you taste food, that's from the sparks. And the life-giving force that's in them. You can't see that either. And the mashal he gives in the brackets is great. Mashal, you could say a distant analogy. Mashal, which we know, every food has vitamins. Ubagashmius, in its physicality, the main thing that keeps you alive isn't what the food looks like. It's the vitamins inside. If food would have no vitamins, you'd be in trouble. When the person eats, he doesn't see the vitamins. Show me a vitamin D. Mikol, next page won't come, but still, who Yodesh, he knows they're there. You know that in milk there is calcium. When you drink it, you want to make your bones strong. I don't see any calcium in the milk, but you know it's there. Who told you? I believe in the scientists. I have a Munas scientists. So what's the reality? Loving Sas, understand a little bit. You see, in every food, the same thing. There's ruchnis alokis, divine godliness. That's enclosed within it. So that keeps it around. That's the life force and the taste it has. But it's enclosed in a physical way. And in eating, you have to have in mind to receive that. You want to receive the divine sparks. That's the real focus. And that comes in the taste and the nourishment. The vitamins and the taste are a byproduct of the holy sparks. God did not have to make food taste good. God could have chosen to make food without nourishment, but that would be foolish, because if it doesn't have any nourishment, you'll die. So there has to be vitamins. The taste also has to be. Why? Because if everything you ate tasted like a table, you wouldn't eat. So know that the sparks are bringing the taste and bringing the nourishment. Okay, let's try to just finish up this little section over here. Where did I end off? Lamed Vav. Okay, so now going on here. So ubishas achila, when a person's eating, he brings them into his body, the sparks, and through that your soul and body is renewed through the eating. And it comes out umamela. Eating is nursing life directly from Hashem. It's like a baby nurses from a mother's breast. When you eat, you're nursing from Hashem's breast. It's a direct connection to Hashem. When a person's eating, as it were, what's he putting inside his body? Light and life from Hashem. But since we find ourselves in a physical world, it comes enclosed. And it comes in a physical garment of food. That's what makes it a holy endeavor. You are putting godliness, you are godliness, but you're taking something else and extracting the godliness into your body that causes you to live. Now, of course, we're going to have to leave you with a question for next week. And the obvious question is, but wait a minute, we live because Hashem puts energy in us. So why do I have to eat other things? Why do I have to eat food? Just let me live with the energy of why I have. If Hashem gives me the energy, the apple lives without eating apples. So why can't I live without eating apples? That becomes a question we have to deal with. But right now we see that eating is a very holy act. That's why Hashem forces us to take part of the world and bring it inside of us to nourish from holy energies. We'll have to stop here. It's so hard to put down. It's so delicious.
Rabbi, just quickly,
This is the